Okay, so the second weekend of the NRL season has been completed. Let's have a quick review of the scores and where teams are at. Some really tight games in this round and a couple of blowouts, one of which I was not expecting. The Storm beat the Rabbitohs 15 points to 14. They were cruising with 60 minutes gone. The Bunnies were looking very poor in the first 60 minutes, and then they went on a 20-minute scoring spree, and it went down to a golden point finish. With Ryan Pappenhausen slotting the drop goal. But the Storm did look a little bit vulnerable after that first 20 minutes blitzing the Bunnies. They stopped scoring, and while they were in control of the game against a very poor South Sydney side, they almost threw the game away in the last 20 minutes. So I think there's a little opening there for the Storm's dominance over the Craig Bellamy period. It may be coming to an end, but we say this every season and they continue to be so consistent. On the Bunny side of things, there's still issues with the combinations. There's still issues with getting Elias a bit more space on the ball and basically putting in a good attacking performance. And defensively, they look very soft. So a hard start for Demetriou as the new head coach. Two matches, 2 defeats. They showed the last 20 minutes they've got, good team chemistry and good team spirit. But for that first 60 minutes, they were really off the boil. So, again, back to the drawing board. I think the Bunnies can learn a lot from that, but they need to put in an 80-minute performance. Otherwise, it could be a very long season. The Dragons losing to the Panthers 16 points to 20. This was a fun game to watch. The Panthers, even without Cleary, they just still look the same. The Dragons, though, are looking like a very solid side and a much improved side from last year. The new signings have made an impact. And that was a very tight game. I think that's possibly one of the tightest games of the round. Panthers, though, when Cleary comes back into that team, they're going to be very dangerous, and they look well set for the Origin period when players are out, with O'Sullivan filling in very capably in Cleary's absence. The Roosters bounced back with a win at 26 points to 12 over the Sea Eagles. The Sea Eagles, what can you say? They've been shocking the first 2 rounds. Tom Trbojevic has been easily shut down, and Manly do not have a secondary outball. They rely too heavily on Trbojevic from fullback. I have some concerns about the Sea Eagles this season going forward. The Roosters, good bounce back win. Very important. They were very poor in the first weekend. Good bounce back. Good bounce back. There was a few players that were a little bit undercooked in round 1, not quite match fit. As the season progresses, I can see them with the young talent that had to play last season with all the injuries. That experience is going to serve them well. They could be very dangerous and a dark horse. A lot of people saying they're going to make the grand final. I don't necessarily think that. I think they've lost that large amount of leadership with Cordner, the Morris twins, and Jake Friend retiring because of injury. So they've lost that little bit of leadership, and that's a lot of pressure being put upon Tedesco. Luke Keary, I think, needs to with his new role and of course his lack of playing time over the last couple of years. They need to make sure he stays fit and healthy. If he goes down injured again, they are in trouble, I think. The Titans versus the Warriors. This was a fun game. The Titans in attack look really dangerous. Defensively, though, they still have a few weaknesses in their defence. But going forward, they look exceptionally good. And the Warriors, they battled back. They were in a leading position at half time, and then they threw that away in the second half. The Titans came on strong and got over the line. Perfect bounce back to last week's close defeat to the Eels in a thrilling game. And attacking wise, the Titans look dangerous. It's getting that defensive game together, but I think they're going to make the 8. The Warriors, what can you say really? They've got the individual talent, but they keep coming up short in games. So we'll see what happens with the Warriors this season, whether they can take that next step or whether they miss the 8 again. The Sharks defeat the Eels in a close contest, 18 points to 16 at Shark Park. What else can you say? I think Fitzgibbon and the signings they brought in have made a positive impact on the team. I'm not sold on Moylan in the halves. I think they've got halves depth other than Moylan. he can't stay fit enough for long enough. There's always concerns about his training, his attitude, but they get a tough win over the Eels. There are question marks over the Eels' defence, again against the Titans in the last round and in this round. And they look a little bit clunky in attack at times. They have lost a lot in the off-season, and they got players off contract at the end of this season. So this is their last chance to make the top four and make a grand final, I think, with the squad they've got. They're going to have to add in the summer, in the off-season, and make some astute signings. However, this time last year, they were flying for the first 12 weeks of the season. We'll see what happens with the Eels. I say after round 5, we can give it round 5, round 6, leading into the first Origin game. That period is the time when we can figure out where teams are truly at. But the Eels, I have some defensive concerns about them. And they're not looking quite fluid in attack as they were at this time last year. But it's a long season, and these issues can be ironed out. But at the same time, they're not. I don't think they're at the same level they were last year. So I think the team they had at the start of last season was better than the team they've got at the start of this season. So that'll be an interesting season for the Eels. The Sharks, though, I think that they made the right signings in the right positions, and they are building nicely. The Cowboys defeating my Raiders 26 points to 6. Less said about the Raiders' performance, the better. I know there's been a few COVID cases within the camp, which has caused problems. There's some injuries as well and some suspensions. It is a long season. It is an away game in North Queensland. The heat and humidity will have an impact. The Cowboys, good response to the defeat last week against the Bulldogs. Really good response. And they need to be more consistent. They need to try and build on this win and carry it on. I have concerns about the use of Taumalolo long term and some of their depth. I don't think they fully replaced Jonathan Thurston, if I'm being fully honest. I don't think they fully replaced that void of leadership within the squad. I don't think Taumalolo as captain necessarily is also the right choice either. Jake Granville's towards the latter end of his career, coming off the bench and being used as a utility last season to mix results. So I have some concerns about their squad depth, but that was a very important win. Very important win for the Cowboys. The Raiders, frustrating loss. You do lay duck. Every team has a poor game in them. It's just last season there were a lot of poor games in the Raiders, and squad depth was being tested and squad unity was being tested. So we'll see what happens in round 3 with the Raiders. I hope they can bounce back into the 8. We need Jack Whiten to be firing on all cylinders. He played brilliantly in game 1, was kept relatively quiet the other day. The Knights beating the West Tigers 26 points to 4. I think the Tigers are going to get the wooden spoon this season. There was just a lack of energy, lack of commitment, lack of passion, lack of organisation. The Knights, brilliant start to the season. A lot of people are picking them for the wooden spoon. I can't see that happening. They played well without Caelan Ponga at fullback and left points on the field. They could have scored more. They could have scored more against the West Tigers. The West Tigers were that bad. And the Knights, I think, left points on the field. They were in a dominant position in the first half. They could have scored 30. If I'm being honest, they left points on the field. They butchered some opportunities. They had the Tigers all over the place. And I don't think it's Michael Maguire's fault the Tigers are this bad. There are issues within the club structures there, the club recruitment, the youth systems. They're losing out to Penrith. They're losing out to Parramatta in Western Sydney. They're signing players for over on contracts. What's Jackson Hastings' position going to be? Is he going to be in the halves? Is he going to be a number 14? Is he going to be a hooker? That's another concern I have. I think Jackson Hastings is a good player. Any other NRL side, he would slot in perfectly as a backup 5/8 or dummy half and slot in as a utility. But in the West Tigers, there's no dominant go forwards. There's no organisation. Luke Brooks, I think that experiment, I think we call it an experiment, has clearly failed. He cannot control this team. I think the West Tigers are wooden spoon fodder this season because I felt the Bulldogs, the Cowboys, the Broncos, and the other teams that are around them last season have put in better performances with more energy, more passion, more commitment. And the Bulldogs losing 10 points to 16 to the Broncos, was there a contentious strip for one of those tries? It was given. You've got to go by what the officials give. The Bulldogs-Broncos was actually a really good game. The Bulldogs showing a lot of energy and commitment again, and the Broncos are having a very good, solid start to this season. They're not overly flashy. They're not blowing teams away. And they had to fight against the Bulldogs to get that a win away from home. I think the Bulldogs, I think they made the right signings. Whether the coach is the right guy to coach them is with Trent Barrett's another thing. But they were in this game for the full 80 minutes. They didn't give up. Off the back of that win against the Cowboys in a scrappy game, they were a bit more fluid today. They were up for the fight, and I think that's going to be very important for the Bulldogs. Sorry, to make progression. I don't think they're going to make the top 8. I don't think the Broncos may make the top 8 either. But this was two sides that the last couple of seasons they've been at the bottom end of the ladder, really struggling for different reasons. And that was a committed performance by both sides, battling to improve with coaches who are clearly under pressure, regardless of how the first 2 weeks have gone. There's a lot of spotlight on Kevin Walters. There's a lot of spotlight on Trent Barrett as coaches. But compare them to the West Tigers. There's more fight in these two sides, and I think the West Tigers are going to have a very, very long season with the way they play. But there you go. That's my review of round 2, and let's see what round 3 has to offer us next weekend. So thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.